So, Acharya, please talk about this regarding India. Especially one time we make temple like Khajuraho. So, what is the myth of Khajuraho? And how we lost it? And where we are?
No, it's not that we lost it or something. Not that once upon a time the entire philosophy or culture here was about the stuff depicted on the Khajuraho walls. It's just that India has had space for all streams to flow freely. One of those streams has been Tantra as well. And that too has been conceived to take man to his utter highest potential. What is a temple? Temple is a place that represents an ascension, a rise, an upliftment. That upliftment can happen through various means. The various deities in the temples represent the various means that the mind can utilize for its ascension, depending on the mind's constitution, the mind's tendencies. So yes, you do have a few temples like Khajuraho, where the body itself has been shown as the means, in particular the sexual activity. So however, the existence of Khajuraho is not to prove that once upon a time in glorious antiquity India was all about sex, and that religion was all about sexual activity. Not at all. There are temples dedicated to snakes, there are temples dedicated to rivers, there are temples dedicated to this deity, that deity. There are gods that ride on dogs. So you even have images of or carvings of dogs inside temples. So that has been the scope of religious thought and religious activity in India. Right? Man has tried everything here. One of those experiments related to the body as well. Right? But even when the Khajuraho temple was being raised, parallelly there was the strong and probably the dominating stream of Vedanta, as well as Buddhism, Jainism, that would look at the body very, very differently. In the way they looked at life, they looked at the organism, they looked at man's relationship with the world. They would often discover that the body is more of a mischief maker than a facilitator that would lead you to liberation. Right? So there were all kinds of currents. Let's not use the Khajuraho temple to make it mean much more than what it actually was or what it actually represented. What often happens is that votaries of unrestrained physical activity or untamed bodily consumption often refer back to Khajuraho to validate their own self-centered motives and claims. They say, no, we are not the only ones who are obsessed with sex. Look at our great-great-grandfathers. Look at the temple of Khajuraho. See what they are doing there. They too are making out all the time. So if they could do that, and that was considered pious enough to be placed in a temple, then why should we adopt the path of restraint or renunciation? So that approach one has to be cautious of. All right. When that kind of a thing happens, I often ask, there are many million temples in India. Why do you pick and choose that particular one only? Does that tell about the temple or does that tell about you? India has been a land of temples. There are temples every 200 meters. But then that particular temple has received greatly disproportionate attention. The temple is wonderful. I do not mean to disparage the temple. The temple is great. But why not talk of the humongous number of other temples and other streams as well? I'm not saying do not talk of Khajuraho, but put things in perspective. Be mindful of the bigger picture. That's what often happens. We get so focused on one little thing that we tend to discount everything else. It's almost like being with someone for an entire day and then clicking his pic when he's in the lavatory. It's not that he was never in the lavatory. He was in the lavatory as well for a few minutes. Not that you are lying if you present that image or talk of that image. Yes, sure. He had his pants down and he was on the commode. But why do you talk of only that? There is so much else in those 24 hours. Why does that not appeal to you? And if you are prepared to talk of the entire expanse of 24 hours, then that levitatory thing will start making better sense. Then there would be a context in which to understand everything. Sans the holistic context, things get distorted in their meanings and their implications. And if you are to talk of love, I mean, why not talk of the Kashi Vishwanath temple? How does Khajuraho specifically represent love? I'm asking. Why does the Kedarnath temple, or for that matter, the Golden Temple, Harmandir Sahib, why do they not represent love? Why is one reminded only of Khajuraho when one talks of love, especially on Valentine's Day? Does that not tell that our concept of love is purely physical, and therefore no other temple comes to our mind? Whereas the fact is, every temple is a temple only of love. What else is a temple? The mind's loving aspiration to unite with the ultimate. What else is love? Is not every temple a temple of love? Why specifically then do we refer to Khajuraho? I'm not here to dismantle Khajuraho or something. It's just that things must have importance, but only as much importance as they deserve.
Because Khajuraho is so unique. I think in the whole world, there is no temple like this. Even Konark in India, we have the second. But it is nothing nice. So there must be some science. I want to understand the myth and science of the Khajuraho. That was my whole point.
Any temple not unique, please tell me. How is any temple not unique? There is a temple dedicated to Kali. Explain how is it not unique? You have a ferocious woman carrying weapons of all kinds, standing on top of what looks like a deadly monster. Right? One of her hands is carrying a severed head with blood dripping from it. Round her neck is a necklace of skulls. I want to understand, how is this imagery run of the mill or ordinary or commonplace? How is this not unique? So, every mind is unique, just as every person has his own life story. Right? Whatsoever takes you to the ultimate is your unique path towards the ultimate. And that's the reason, in spite of being strongly monistic, yet India is pantheistic. Monistic in the sense that the destination is not even one. The destination is shunya. So monism. The underlying reality is not even common. The underlying reality cannot even be talked of, thought of, or defined. Therefore monism. At the same time, as we perceive the world, we all are very, very different people, are we not? At least superficially, there are a lot of differences among people. Therefore, each one of us requires a separate path for his or her own dissolution. Therefore, each one of us deserves to have a separate, unique temple for himself, herself. Therefore, not only are there these millions of deities, actually every family has a Kul Devata. Not even two adjacent houses can be so similar that the same kind of temple or the same kind of worship or the same route can take them to their liberation. So you need a different deity and I need a different deity. Is that not uniqueness? Is that not uniqueness? Everybody requires a separate and different and unique path of his own. That path is represented by way of a temple. Therefore, there are so many temples and therefore there are so many deities. Does that not intrigue you? On the one hand, Vedanta keeps saying Brahma, Brahm and Brahm. Just one, just one, just one. Not even one. Acharya Shankar had displayed his wit when he said, how can there be two when there is not even one? So, the way of looking transcends even monism. There is not even one. Forget about two. And yet there are millions. And those millions are to be celebrated in their diversity, knowing fully well that the underlying reality of the millions is a shared and non-existent reality. Both the foundation and the destination. They are one and the same, and shunya. That does not exist at all. That non-existent final reality is itself described as Brahma or Atma or Satya. But that each of us would have to travel our individual personal journeys. Each single one of us. Therefore, each one of us need to have our own unique paths. At some stage in one's life, one does go through the physical, sexual phase. Does one not? So the Khajuraho temple indicates that even when you are going through that phase, remain centered. See what the body is doing. And if you can observe and understand the body, even in that phase, then even sexual behavior that normally pulls a person down into all kinds of rubbish and rut can still prove to be a period in which your onward activity, your onward journey keeps continuing.